You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and in my promise to bring great guests on so you don't have to listen to me talk as much, I've done it. I've got two fantastic guests this week. We've got a longtime friend of the podcast. We've got a first-time guest. Let's introduce them. First up, we've got the communications manager, longtime friend of the podcast, multiple-time guest, communications manager Dalton Fischer from Silver Dollar City. Dalton, welcome back to the Coaster101 podcast.
Happy to be back. Very, very warm in here, or at least where we're at, but glad to be digitally with you again.
I'm looking at your room. It looks like you got a nice fireplace behind you. We'll get into that in a second, probably because we've got to also introduce our other guest. He is the communications director for Silver Dollar City and also the keeper of the Sharks in Mystic River Falls, Joey Thorsen from Silver Dollar City. Joey, welcome to your first time on the Coaster101 podcast.
First time and last time, Andrew. Yes, welcome to the heart of the Ozarks. And just to clarify, we do not have any sharks at Silver Dollar City. We've been shark-free for over 65 years.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, I won't make any more jokes if we're gonna make this the last time. I want to stay in your good grace. I know you are. Hey, listen, we love an in joke where it's like if you know, and you'll keep it going every once in a while. So it is. I enjoy playing along, to be honest with you guys.
Oh, we love it too, for what it's worth. Sorry to kind of drop the kayfabe a little bit with it, but I secretly love the shark jokes.
Yeah, and I almost knocked over the entire table with my knee. So yeah. We're doing well.
All right, good. Awesome. Well, I want to get a little bit about you guys. You guys obviously you're two of a team of people, presumably, behind one of what I'm going to consider one of the better theme park social communications accounts. You guys have your own podcast network or your own content network now, rather, not podcast network. One day. But you've got your own content network. I want to get a little bit of background on you, Joey, again, as a first-time guest, and then Dalton, we will allow you to kind of reintroduce yourself. But Joey, kind of what's your background? How long have you been at Silver Dollar City, and how did you get into the crazy, exciting world of theme park communications?
I've been with Silver Dollar City for going on 9 years right now. Prior to that, in a previous life, I worked in sports entertainment in hockey, baseball, football, and lastly with the Memphis Grizzlies before moved here to the Ozark Mountains. And since then have been with Silver Dollar City and haven't looked back.
Okay. And Dalton, what about you? Remind us how long you've been with Silver Dollar City. I believe you're on your second tour of duty right now.
Yeah, if you add those tours up, 5 years for me. I've been coming here since I was a little kid, like so many of us who decided to become citizens and work here. So it's been a blast, different sort of responsibilities, but also some similar things. It's been cool to see things like podcasts, just kind of explode since the time that Joey and I and really our whole team has been here. It's just completely changed. So new stuff every day.
Yeah. How big is the communications department at Silver Dollar City?
There's 6 of us, 7 of us. There's 7.
Yeah, and I would say, if you want to even bring in some other folks who work on our mass communications team, and then our paid media team, and even the customer service side, I mean, it balloons up to in the 20s. But our core group of content, publicity, PR folks are 7.
Okay. It's again with so many things. You guys obviously have Silver Dollar City. You've got Showboat, Branson Bell. You've got all of these things in the Ozarks that Silver Dollar City kind of has I'll call a hand in the pot. I feel like, for lack of a better term, when you're thinking about communicating these things, how does it work? Where Silver Dollar City gets this piece of the pie, and the Showboat, Branson Bell gets this piece of the pie. How do you guys divide that up? Obviously, people know Silver Dollar City for the amusement park, but there's so much more going on in that area.
Dalton, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think, it really depends on the guest, right? You approach us from what's a guest looking for, what type of guest. There's going to be guests that come to Silver Dollar City. They never go to the showboat. They never go to Whitewater. They don't stay at our campground. On the other side of things, there might be a guest that only comes to the showboat Ransom Bell. They have no idea that the showboat is ran by a theme park, an 1880s theme park, until they're leaving the showboat and they see some of our content down there. And so it really just depends on what the person's looking for as far as determining where they're going to focus promotionally on each thing. So knowing what type of outlet you might be talking to or influencer you might be reaching out to, whatever it might be, it's really thinking about what type of guest are they and what are they looking for. You can easily come to the Ozark Mountains here in Southwest Missouri and have plenty to do. I mean, you could fill a week plus just going to Silver Dollar City attractions that we have here underneath the Parks and Resorts umbrella. But there's so much more to do in the area too. And so that's why we really talk about the Ozark Mountains. And that's really what sets us apart. If you've never been here, just the views that you have, the culture you're going to experience, our citizens, even it's this Mid-South type of hospitality we provide. We're kind of in the South, we're kind of in the Midwest. We say please and thank you. We have a lot of opes as you're walking around with our guests. So, and then a long way to answer your question, it really depends on what we're talking about and who we're talking about that too. But you could say we have our hand in the pot a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even really think it's in terms of which slice, how big of slice of the pie the showboat gets or anything like that. I mean, I think it's no secret that when you're talking about a theme park that with the kind of the length of reputation and the quality that Silver Dollar City has, I mean, that's the driver for sure. And for us, we look at the showboat Branson Bell and our water park Whitewater, and then even the Silver Dollar City Resort coming online in, gosh, I mean, next year, really, since we're in
Mhm.
2025 right now. Those are all complementary to the theme park as really the heart of the Ozarks.
Love that. And Dalton, I feel like you said, depending on if you've never been to the Ozarks, it's no secret. And I apologize in advance. I still have not made it to Branson. It's on my
We
to-do
know.
list.
We know.
I we I know
I
I
know.
know I'm coming one day, I promise. Joey, your eyebrows shot up. You're like, I don't want to be on this podcast anymore. He hasn't even made the effort to fly out here from North Carolina. So
We know you're busy. It's
it's
fine.
that's like I'm just getting like disappointed dad vibes from you right now, and I'm sorry.
I get those daily, so
It,
it's fine.
it's fine. I haven't heard. I mean, when you think about our, this is being the Coaster 101 podcast and the coasters that we have here at Silver Dollar City, famously, famously underwhelming, I think is fair to say about our coasters, right? I mean,
No,
not a lot of acclaim, not real much reason to visit. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the mountain portion being in those Ozark Mountains, that's what makes
yeah.
these coasters so unique. If we wanted to even build a copy and paste coaster, put it on parking lot, we don't have the land to do that. We have to custom engineer all of these rides. And so that's why they're so unique. Time Traveler, Outlaw Run, Powder Keg, Wildfire, Thunderation, all of these coasters really fitting the profile of where we're at. And that's another reason you need to come and experience Silver Dollar City so you understand what we're talking about. You've been to plenty of parks. So I'm sure you get that, but there's just something a little bit different about our topography, something a little bit different about the land that we use, the tree coverage, the canopy of leaves above
Mhm.
us. Makes it so much more interesting.
I guess my question to you though, Andrew, is like, how have we failed in convincing you to visit?
you.
What is it about our park or maybe me or Dalton specifically? What have we not done to get you to visit?
You guys, you have not lobbied
Get the
American
list out.
Airlines hard enough to make. Yeah, you've not lobbied American Airlines hard enough to make
Mm,
affordable flights from Charlotte to Branson. Air travel is prohibitively expensive, and I'm at the age right now where getting in a car and driving across the country is not something like my back's going to lock up. It's pretty terrible. It's going it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. Hopefully at some point this year I will keep you guys in the loop for sure. It's trust me. And it is nothing you've done. I again, I appreciate the relationship that Dalton and I have, Joey and I, you and I, we've talked back and forth over messages and texts about, things you've done on social media. So I appreciate the relationship we have. There's nothing you guys or the park has done other than the fact air travel is expensive. That's just the way it is.
You know,
And
we have a Buc-ee's now. I mean,
We do have a
that's
Buc-ee's.
a big
It's
deal.
like 15 minutes from my house, if that, might be 12 minutes.
Mhm,
American Airlines just added Miami nonstop flights to Springfield,
mhm,
Missouri. That's the closest airport to us, 40 minutes. But yeah, you've got Charlotte, Chicago, Denver. I think there's Houston,
mhm.
Dallas, and then there's some Allegiant flights too that go kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and Buc-ee's as
And
well.
Bucky's. Did we mention
this,
Bucky's?
I still haven't been to Bucky's, believe it or not. I think I'm going to go this weekend for the first time. I
Okay.
am I'm down in Florida for work, so I'm not going down there specifically for Bucky's or theme parks. It's a work trip. I'm just making that clear. So that's the way it goes. Dalton, you mentioned everything being custom engineered, and I want to take the phrase custom engineer, and I want to take it to Joey about how Silver Dollar City kind of approaches their social media strategy. I feel like more so than a lot of parks out there, you guys push the envelope. You pick up on pop culture trends. You pick up on moments from sports. I'm looking at your Instagram right now, and the second image on there features the score bug from last night's big game that we're not going to talk about. We're
Oh, we're
not
not
even
going
going
to
to.
talk about that. No.
We're not. It's not. I want to talk. I want to talk about your strategy and your like thought process when it comes to social media. I mean, at my full time job that's not Coaster101 related, I do corporate social media, and it's one of those things where I have to toe a corporate line. I want to be creative. You've somehow found the way to again just be extra creative. You guys have integrated the half dead zombie Pop Tart from the Pop Tarts bowl into some social posts. You've done some
That's because of
some
Dalton. That one's
Oh,
100%
that's
because of
what he
Dalton.
meant. It says responding to pop culture. Got it. Yeah.
yes Pop Tart culture, but what goes into the kind of like you've got a background in sports, but picking up on bits and pieces of things in pop culture and media and being reactionary. What's your strategy on that, and how do you think Silver Dollar City is able to capitalize on it so well?
Well, I know that this isn't a social media podcast. This is a Coaster 101 podcast, but I'm going to jump on my soapbox just for a quick second with this. And when I think about the strategy for Silver Dollar City Social, it's really about being being true to who we are, but then being entertaining at the same time. And when you think about how people consume social media, they're on their phones. They wake up in the morning and they pick up their phone and they look at it. They go to a bathroom break and they're sitting on the toilet and they're looking at it and they're scrolling. And it's just there's the potential that there's terrible stuff all day long. You know, you're seeing people who are doing better than you. You're seeing people arguing. You're seeing stuff that's really like bringing you down. I mean, there's all these studies that talk about prolonged social media use is bad for folks' mental health.
Highlight reel.
And I think about Silver Dollar City and what is it that Silver Dollar City does? And we provide this, this escape from the modern world. You can come step back in time to a place where people treated each other right and we're kind of silly and we're kind of goofy and you have fun and you take that experience of Silver Dollar City and what you get when you visit the park, then we extend that into the social media space. So as you're scrolling and you're going through all of the pop culture or negative political news and everything, you see something just like fun and happy from Silver Dollar City, and it reminds you, oh, this is why I love this place, or this is why I love theme parks in general, or this is why I even log on to social media in the first place is to see something like that. So for me, that's step one is just to make people happy in the digital space the same way that we make people happy in the physical space when they come to our park, but then also thinking about who is Silver Dollar City and what type of personality would we be and where is it appropriate for us to engage and then kind of move forward from there, and that really informs of everything we do. Like if you've ever been to our park and you
He
walk
hasn't.
around and you, yeah, I know Andrew has not, but if you do ever visit our park one day, maybe potentially, you would see there's so many signs throughout our park, even our rides and Fire in the Hole. They've got this kind of like tongue in cheek humor to them. We take that same humor and then just apply it to our social media. So if you've been to the park, you would be like, oh, of course Silver Dollar City would act like that. That makes total sense why they would do that. But then there's us other ways that we're a 19th century park. We're set in the 1880s. So there's something that's kind of funny or interesting about how an 1880s theme park would engage with the year 2025 online, and that kind of dichotomy or the clash of those two time periods. There's so much opportunity for humor there of kind of showing up in unexpected ways. Has really given us a lot of success in the past few years too.
I love that. That is, I mean, it's refreshing to hear. And granted, as someone who hosts a podcast for a website who covers things like you said, supposed to be happy, theme parks, roller coasters, the amusement industry, try to keep it positive and things like that. It is an interesting strategy, and especially when you put it with that dichotomy of, hey, our park is set here in the 1880s, but it's 2025 and reacting that way. It's unique. And I I will go ahead and plug it. I'm sure you guys will plug it here at the end. But if you're not following Silver Dollar City on all forms of social media, I believe it's SDC Attractions across the board. Guys, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but SDC Attractions, go follow them. There's some great content that, Joey and team are pushing out, and Dalton's obviously involved too, again, with the dismembered Pop Tart mascot and all these other things. So,
Typically, I serve as the gut check. I think that's my role in social media is Joey coming and showing me something and saying,
Yeah, is
"Is
this a
this
bad
too
idea?
much?"
Yeah. Did I push it too far? Yeah. Yeah, it's Dalton and my wife are the two people that I talk to. Like, is this too far? They serve as a good counterbalance.
yeah,
And I'd also say too, like we were just talking about the Super Bowl commercials, and I think people who work in communications or who work in social media specifically, they look at people who or not just people, but brands who have been popular over the past few years. So, people like Duolingo and Wendy's and Liquid Death Water. And there's this kind of shock factor that everybody just feels like they have to be a shock jock now online, that we toe the line where that's not who we are. We're not a thrill park. We don't just sit here to just serve people like these extreme thrills, and we're not a place that shocks you. We're this kind of like this smile, this warm hug. And I think we do things to try and be true to our brand that makes sense for us. So that may not work for everybody. You could be another business or another theme park that that strategy wouldn't work for you, and we wouldn't recommend it.
got it. I love that. Well, you say you're not a thrilling place. You've got 7 roller coasters, the newest of which obviously opened last year with Fire in the Hole, capped off or not kicked off rather, not capped off a pretty successful, exciting 2024 season. I mean, what was the guest feedback for Fire in the Hole? Obviously, you had the opportunity to take a classic attraction, modernize it with the help of our friends at Rocky Mountain Construction. But overall, what was guest feedback and reaction? And looking for those, kind of those multi-generational moments, I think, is what other parks have said. It's like, grandparents rode this with their kids, and now those kids are parents, they're riding it with their kids, but also the grandparents. What was the feedback on Fire in the Hole last year?
I think the overwhelming feedback with New Fire in the Hole was this communal thank you. Thank you for preserving what was so special to me and my family. For some people, this is a place where they have memories with loved ones that might not be with us any longer, those they might have lost. So there are people that rode the original 51-year legacy with their grandparents, right? Maybe even great grandparents, thanking us for not just completely changing the ride, not just getting rid of it and moving on, but preserving that legacy, those memories that they had. So you've got groups like that. You've got individuals who now are riding with their own grandkids that they rode with their grandparents. There's a really cool story about one of our coworkers who, they're married now, but they shared their first kiss on the original Fire in the Hole, right? And so now they have this new attraction that they can tell their kids, their future grandkids, about these memories they made on this original. And I think what's cool now is that we have this ride that was here for 51 years that will have its own legacy and lore behind it, almost this legendary status to it. And what I really love that we were able to do with the RMC team, though, is keep that layout the same, keep the 3 drops in there, but there's still enough surprises that you want to ride it again just to, peek inside of this gigantic 34,000 square foot building, this huge box. Like, well, what is in there? I mean, we were very purposeful with really breadcrumbing out information and being a little secretive about it. We didn't just drop everything that's in there. You can watch the POV video and you're just going to see a kind of a straight on angle and some left and right sort of things, but there's still so many surprises in there that you're going to be caught off guard for sure. But a lot of little cute Easter eggs too. It's a ride that you'll want to ride multiple times, and we talk about it all the time. This is a ride that will be the first quote unquote big ride for lots of kids. And at the same time, it might be the only coaster that an adult will ever do. So it has this very, very specific point of multi-generationality that you just brought up, that no other coaster at this park has. And frankly, I think a lot of parks struggle to have.
Yeah, and when we think about Fire in the Hole for us, this new version of Fire in the Hole that opened this past year, to me it's the ride that the Herschens wanted to build when the original Fire in the Hole opened in 72. That this was the actual version of it, of like the storytelling of how we're able to put the onboard audio in there, and then the increased effects throughout the ride, the smoothness of the ride. Like, if you haven't ridden it yet, and I know Andrew, he hasn't ridden it yet, right?
No,
From
maybe
my
maybe
understanding.
digitally.
But when you think about, there's a train effect that comes at you in the ride that's just incredible. Like, I've ridden it dozens of times now, and every time I ride it, it's just like, it just gets you when you see the train and the steam coming at you and everything like that. It's awesome. And I know one of our founders, Jack Hershen, has this awesome quote that he talks about all the time that says, "We plant trees that we will never get to sit under the shade of." And we had this opportunity when we closed the original Fire in the Hole of this 50-year legacy, that for all of us as hosts here at Silver Dollar City, we were picking the fruit off of these trees that were planted over 50 years ago. And we got to kind of experience all of these stories and memories of people who had generations of memories on this ride. We felt very protective over that legacy, of not over what it meant to our park, but what it meant for our guests. So there's you can look throughout the industry and see how other parks have closed down what you would call like sacred cow rides or legacy rides, and some have done it well and some have done it not so well. And when we took learnings throughout the industry as how we kind of laid out our communications plan, and like Dalton said, we tried to breadcrumb things out. But as we breadcrumbed things out for how we kind of laid the foundation of how we launched the new Fire in the Hole, we really wanted to let people know it's okay. You can let your guard down. You can be excited about this new ride and know that we're gonna protect your memories as we launch this new ride that's gonna last for another 50 years.
I love it. I mean, again, I apologize that I wasn't out there. I know we had Coaster
Because he was
101
invited,
ride.
wasn't he?
Yes.
He was invited.
Yep.
I thought he was. Okay.
I was, but we were able to send Coaster 101 Danny and her husband. She didn't get to ride because she was pregnant at the time,
Remember
but
that.
the husband, he had rave reviews, and we had a really great glowing review on the website. So go to Coaster 101, check that out. Once I finally get to Silver Dollar City, there will be more glowing rave reviews, I'm sure. It's coming, guys. I promise. It's coming.
But I mean, and jokes aside with it, when the new Fire in the Hole opened this past March, I know how I felt. It felt like this huge emotional release of this project that we had been, obviously we didn't build the ride, but like we work here, and it was our job to do the storytelling and get people excited for this ride, and to tell people why it's going to be great. And then as those first riders came on and they came off and they reciprocated our energy that we had for it, it was very emotional. I know for me personally to just be like, oh gosh, they love it. Like, this is awesome. Like, it's exactly what we hoped would happen.
You really lean in on reactions, and with some of our more extreme thrill rides, Time Traveler's a great example. You see it being built and you're like, that's a zero G roll. That's going to be insane. And then you ride it and you're like, this is great. Everyone's going to love it. Something like Fire in the Hole with 3 drops. Most of the ride is 3 minutes before those drops. You don't really know. Like, you have your own opinions. It's more so like a piece of media, like movie or TV. You're like, oh, I really like this, but and that was so rewarding to see people and still just come off of me like that was great. People having fun. There's never a frown on that ride, and it's because we kept all those classic elements. I mean, we think about it now. Imagine if we had taken the water splash out for some reason. That's such an iconic part of that ride, or the train moment.
Mhm.
I love that you still interact with the bridge that's on fire. But we were able to. I love what you said, Joey, take this ride and create what maybe the Herschens would have originally wanted, because that's what it seems like. They actually sent people out to Hollywood back in the 70s to see, how do you make these practical flame effects? Like, go to a movie lot and figure it out. And it's like, man, if they would have had this budget, this is what they would have done. And I think that's some of the success with it, keeping those practical effects, not just going into all digital,
Mhm.
not just relying on screens. I don't want to spoil the ride. Please ride it if anyone listening hasn't. But there are some screens, but there's so many different practical effects in that ride, and I think that's what makes it authentic and truly Silver Dollar City.
Perfect. Then, that kicked off your 2024 season, and towards the end of the year, you guys made another really huge, exciting announcement. The investment of $500 million, the biggest investment in Silver Dollar City history, the new Silver Dollar City Resort. What can you tell our audience about that? I know construction's underway. Joey, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to open in 2026, or scheduled to. I know how these things work. There's a time, and then there's when it actually opens. So hopefully it's 2026. But what can you tell us about the Silver Dollar City Resort, and why should our audience be excited and start booking their rooms as soon as they're available to do so?
Well, I mean, like you said, this past August or September, whenever this was, gosh,
It was
was
in
it October?
October.
It was
Yeah,
October, yeah. It
it's a blur.
it really has been a blur. Um,
Typically, you don't do major announcement in this industry, right?
right.
It's always,
No.
there's a little, especially for
Yeah.
regional parks, there's a little year or two between,
That's
something
that's
like that.
true. I mean, this is a new era for us that we're stepping into with Silver Dollar City. That, for the 65th year of this park, we are now Silver Dollar City Parks and Resorts, with this 800 acres just adjacent to the park, and the $500 million in development over the next decade. The first of which being the Silver Dollar City Resort. Yeah, we couldn't be more excited about that. And when we think about the level of detail and theming and hospitality that are going to come with this resort that just sits here right next to America's best theme park, it's going to be unlike anything else in this region of the country. I know for us, me and my wife, we have 2 kids that are 10 years old and 8 years old, and we think about places that we could go for family vacations. There's nothing else like what we're building here on these ridge tops in the Ozarks that are within a, gosh, I mean, what, 5-6 hour drive of this area here. I mean,
Yeah,
I couldn't even think you'd have to go to the coasts, or to even get a comparable
yeah.
experience to
Another
what's gonna,
country.
yeah, that's gonna be here, right here with the Silver Dollar City Resort.
The views it'll have, I mean, they're unparalleled. They're views that you cannot manufacture, and that's what makes this resort so special. We were so fortunate to be able to take some media and some folks out to the actual site after we did this announcement event in our Red Gold Heritage Hall, and there at the site, we constructed like a fake window, what your view would look like from the 5th floor, I believe. We're very specific here. We're like, "No, this is the 5th floor view of what you're gonna get." Um, it's just there's no words to put to it. It's just like Joey said. I mean, you would have to go to the coast, a different country, somewhere almost remote. It kind of feels like that's what's cool about the Ozarks. It feels remote,
Right.
but it's really not. I mean, these are the views that I get to take in. We all do when we just drive to the park every day.
Well, and I think a couple things that are gonna make this resort special too is when you think about the fact that a little history lesson for this region of the country is that, as the East Coast was really developed, I mean, for hundreds of years, and then the development of the United States moved westward, the Ozarks as a landscape was very inhospitable. So development really just kind of hopped over the Ozarks, that when the Herschen family moved here in the 60s, Mary Herschen had the first was it indoor plumbing in
Indoor
this
plumbing,
area,
and this is
and that was in the
60, 70 years
1960s.
ago.
Yeah, that this land that's adjacent to the park, these are these like pristine, untouched areas of the Ozark Mountains that you're going to have these views of that nobody's ever had before. I mean, nothing's ever been like here in this area right there adjacent to the park. And then also, I think for people who've maybe even visited Silver Dollar City dozens or hundreds of times, or somebody like Andrew who hasn't even visited once before, that people miss the fact that we are right here on the shores of Table Rock Lake, which is this amazingly beautiful, pristine lake. I mean, what is it? Over 1,000 miles of coastline on
More
Table Rock Lake.
shoreline than any other landlocked lake.
Yeah.
Well, that is what a lake is. More than any other lake.
But the Silver Dollar City Resort is going to really connect people to Table Rock Lake in ways that Silver Dollar City, the theme park, never has before too. So, all of that together mixed with the other surprises that we can't really talk about yet that are going to be available to guests at the resort are going to make it really fun and surprising.
And real quickly, just because you said that, when you talked about this area and having indoor plumbing, less than 70 years ago being a first, that's why these crafts exist here. That's what adds to the authenticity of Silver Dollar City. The crafts exist because you had to know either how to make your own pottery or know someone who knew how to do pottery, because that's what you had to do to survive. And so that's the heritage of these crafts, why they exist in the first place. This isn't just like, oh, well, we're going to throw in a glass blower here. It's like, no, they had to know a glass blower in order to make these things. And that really adds to the community and the vibrance of this illusion of this city that we have too, for sure. But you're going to feel that in the resort, definitely.
I was just thinking about this over the past week or so, that just about every theme park or amusement park worth their salt has like some version of like an old town section in the park. And I find that interesting because Silver Dollar City is not just, oh, well, what if you took an old town version of the park or section of the park and then just made it the entire park? We're more than that, because that's literally what this place is. I mean, when you step onto our town square, when you visit for the first time, Andrew, you'll see that the buildings on our town square were built on the foundations of an actual mining town on top of the actual cave where there was an actual mining operation. And the stories of the Bald Knobbers and Fire in the Hole and the stories of Mystic River Falls, they all sprout from that cave. They all derive organically from that cave. The hills and the valleys and the kind of twists and turns of our pathways happen organically because of this landscape, that it was not some master planned fake old town. I mean, this is legitimate. This is authentic in a way that we couldn't manufacture if we wanted to.
We have a grist mill built on the foundation of what was a real grist mill. But at the same time, we're not a Ren Fair or a Colonial Williamsburg, not something like that. We do have these crafts being done and being demonstrated, but we're over 100 acres of a theme park at the same time. And it really does operate like a true city. We have these gigantic skillet meals that are renowned here at the park. And to make these giant meals, you got to have these giant iron skillets. Well, good thing we have a blacksmith. And so the city actually acts as its own city within itself.
Mm-hmm. Joey, I got to tell you, I don't know if you happened to catch Dalton on the first go around when we did. This was about February of last year. He did I want to call it a 10-minute soliloquy talking about the history of Silver Dollar City and how change was given in half dollars and in silver dollars rather. Like, he went on a roll for like 10 or 15 minutes of just Dalton talking, and it was the most impressive thing I've ever witnessed on this podcast.
When you're an only child, you acquire that skill very quickly.
Okay. But the history, it's there. And if you're listening and are like, hey, Joey and Dalton sound really cool, go back in our archives. It's probably 30-ish episodes ago, because I took most of last year off because real life got in the way. Go listen to that episode. It's called Pleading the Fifth, The Guide to Silver Dollar City. It gives more about that history and about the mining town and all of these other things. It's a great listen. I highly recommend it, not just because I'm talking to these guys right now, but okay.
Great episode title, Pleading the Fifth, Fire in the Hole.
Yes, exactly. FITH.
Yeah.
So we've made it through the end of 2024 announcement, and you guys open just about a month for
Almost
the
exactly.
2025 season. What can guests expect at Silver Dollar City in 2025?
I think this year is all about the guest experience. Of course, Fire in the Hole is here. It's still new in our eyes. There's so many people who haven't been on the new iteration of Fire in the Hole, but we're really looking at, yep, including you, Andrew. Yep, absolutely. But we really looked at the guest experience this year. And what can we improve? And one of those big areas was this area that we called the Pumpkin Plaza. It was opened only in September and October for a harvest festival, and it was an area really only utilized at night. And so what we're doing this year is we've completely leveled that area. We've taken out even all the asphalt, went down to the ground, added concrete, all that good stuff to make it pretty, but also to Silver Dollar Cityfy it, to take it into the 1880s fully. So it'll be an area that's opened all year round. By opening that, we can connect our grand exposition to Fire in the Hole in the Fire District. You've never been here, so you have no idea what that means. But if you have been here, you know that we now have two dead ends that are gone. We now have a completed pathway. So that's exciting. And in that plaza, as we're affectionately calling it, there's going to be new things all throughout the year. So whether you're here for our all new spring exposition, summer celebration, you're here for Harvest Festival, or you're here for an old time Christmas, pick your season. There's going to be something fun happening in that new area that really serves as a place to honestly decompress and hang out. It's going to have a lot of kinetic energy, a lot of things moving around, but there's going to be plenty of places just to sit down and enjoy your day. And there's a lot of places in Silver Dollar City to do that. And of course, we'll have new entertainment all throughout the year. I'm really excited for our drone show this summer. We'll have a real fir Christmas tree, 6-story fir tree in that plaza. We'll still have our 8-story one up at the top of the park, but we're going to move our lighting ceremony down to that fir tree. So think of like Rockefeller Center type of vibe down there. That's going to be tremendous for us. We've got the drone show. We've got a hoedown happening in the spring. Really, that's going to be a big focus, is that area this year. And then, of course, there's just, as you walk around this park in January, February, you can see all other improvements happening, whether that's new decking on buildings, just improving guest flow, that sort of thing. That's the stuff that you'll have no idea when you visit the first time because you have no litmus at all. But for our guests that continually return every year and multiple times in one year, they're gonna feel a lot of great improvements.
Yeah, between that new park expansion, the new spring festival, and then just new entertainment year round, to us, this is just as exciting as opening up a new ride, because we've got something new to talk about really every kind of season throughout this coming year. There's people who say all the time to us, we get these comments a lot of, man, I wish Silver Dollar City would do just a ticket for people who want to eat food and watch the shows. And there's a reason for that. It's not like we're an amusement park that just sticks some people on a stage to perform for the grandparents while the kids are off riding rides. The entertainment is built into the DNA of who we are, that there's performers who legitimately love to come back and perform here year after year. You think of people like Daly and Vincent, these Grammy award winning bluegrass musicians who recorded the theme song for Fire in the Hole, that, you know, Rhonda Vincent, the queen of bluegrass, got her start performing here at Silver Dollar City. You know, I think of Lauren Daigle, who performed God Bless America at the Super Bowl last night, performed here for Young Christians Weekend a few years ago. That the entertainment is so much about who Silver Dollar City is. So as we go into next year and we get to celebrate that entertainment all year long, like with our saloon show, what is it? 52 years of the saloon show.
52, yeah.
I think it's one of the longest running theme park shows just in the world. We've had more people in that saloon show than any other show here at the park. Excited about that. I mean, excited just about this new Rhonda Vincent Christmas show. Excited about the summer drone shows. I mean, the list goes on next year with from the entertainment side.
And these little fan bases pop up. There's groups that the saloon is their thing. Seeing the homestead pickers, that's their thing. We have our coaster enthusiasts. There's so many little groups that you'll find that are just enamored with this park. But I look at years past working here. What are my favorite years? And 2019 sticks out a lot because we introduced the Harvest Festival. We had a new Christmas tree, and we listened to our guest feedback and we incorporated that. Plus, we were on the heels of Time Traveler the year before. But really, looking at my favorite years, I don't know if it's formulaic necessarily, but it's those years when we really focus on the guest experience. And just talking about a new plaza might not sound exciting, but once you see it and you understand how that impacts the guest experience, you're like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what we needed. Oh, and Fire in the Hole's right there. We haven't rode that yet.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Christmas at Silver Dollar City as America's best theme park Christmas event. that with the new spring exposition that's opening up in April here, like we get to be here on the ground floor of what's going to be this iconic spring celebration for the Ozarks and for the Midwest for years to come. It's a really exciting year coming up.
Yeah. And I know if you go to the Silver Dollar City website, you can Control F or Command F, depending on what kind of computer you use, type the word new in. New pops up a lot. So
Especially
you
this
guys,
year.
yeah, you've got a lot of great stuff going on. Dalton, I gotta ask you a question now. You know, earlier this year, so I'm gonna call it last month because I think it was last month, maybe it was 1st February, I don't know. You flew to Chicago. You were in a room full of coaster enthusiasts at the I believe it's Ace's No Coaster Con. I saw pictures. This happened.
That's right. Yep.
You told Ace some things that were happening in 2026 in addition to the resort, or maybe you did. Maybe it was like there's more coming. And I sent you a text or a message and I said, "What can you tell us that you didn't tell Ace?" So for those of us who weren't in that room, what did you tell Ace? And then what can you tell us? What can you tell Coaster101? Because we're friends, because you're a friend of the pod. What can you tell us on top of what you told the American coaster enthusiasts?
Yeah, so that conversation in that presentation that I was giving, we had late 26. That's when we have the resort on its way. And then I threw in a slide there, it just said 2026, left it up. That's because in 2026, we're going to debut a new. Our president does that. He acts like it's breaking up the connection, but we're in 2025. That doesn't happen as much. Here's what I'll tell you: we always have something new planned at this park. Like you just said, do the Control F, the Command F, look through our website. I promise you, it's going to be a great year. I really can't say anything else. I would love to tell you. I'd love to get off this podcast and tell you, don't tell anybody. But you know how we are. So just really pay attention. Make sure you're following all those socials we mentioned, and it'll all be revealed in due time. That's probably my favorite part of working here, is just seeing how Joey and the team, I've used this term once, I'll say it again, breadcrumb information out. Like our folks kind of know, our fans, when they see something that has no caption on it, or it's just an image or whatever it is, they're like, oh, time to pay attention. And I love that. It's kind of like we got our finger on the pulse of that.
Yeah. I don't know what is happening in 26. Can we talk about? I'm not sure I even know. Maybe we can talk about it after we stop recording.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, that works. And this, I feel like if I was like a park regular, you guys would trust me a little bit more. I know this is a new thing. I understand it. I get it.
If you don't visit this year, though, we won't ever tell. We'll actually just move dates.
Oh, so I got.
It's kind of dependent on you visiting.
It really is. Sorry to all of the Ozark locals, but I'm gonna make it happen. I promise. It's on the to-do list. It's on my Google Flight alerts. It's gonna happen.
Giga confirmed 2026 at Silver Dollar City.
Giga what?
What?
1.28 gigawatts.
It is super exciting, though, to go back to what you were saying earlier, Andrew. I mean, we announced that resort, but we also announced a decade, $500 million that we will be putting into these Ozark Mountains, into these hills. So seriously, pay attention, watch what we're doing. We know that folks like to play the game with trying to find out what we're going to do. We love to play the game. So just bear with us as we get closer to these dates, and it's exciting stuff around the corner.
It's Silver Dollar City Parks and Resorts, not Silver Dollar City Theme Park plus Hotel.
That's true. We do have a campground, so technically it's plural.
That's true.
I love it. Before we wrap this podcast up, Joey, I do want to. I'm just going to let it slide. I'm going to let it go. We're going to talk pluralities. We're going to talk offline, and maybe I'll write an article about this. Maybe I don't write articles that are like speculation though, so I got to like actually dial this in and play along with the teases like the rest of Coaster Internet, because we're a famously rational bunch. You guys know that,
right?
But before we wrap this up, Joey, I want to talk to you a little bit about, I touched on it earlier a little bit, this media network that Silver Dollar City has recently started, which is Ozarkly. What is the story behind that, and kind of what type of content can our audience find there that they might not find anywhere else?
a couple years ago, we went through this kind of brand research project to try and kind of quantify what it is about Silver Dollar City that makes us special. And honestly, we've struggled with it over the years. We've got this national historic landmark in Marvel Cave that we sit on top of. We have these world class coasters. We have this unparalleled food here. We've got this entertainment, and because of all of those things, we've really struggled to kind of lean in on, well, what do we talk about, without leaving other things out. And at times, we've tried to talk about everything. And when we try and talk about everything, for those in communications know, you really kind of talk about nothing because you give people nothing to focus on. And so, because of that, we were thinking about Silver Dollar City, and as we're growing into the Silver Dollar City parks and resorts, and we're adding this resort, and we have this 800 acres adjacent to the park, and as we are the heart of the Ozarks, we think of, well, how can we tell the story of not only this theme park and not only this new resort and not only our water park and not only the other attractions, but this place, this kind of this unique, quirky area that we live that is the Ozarks Mountains. And we think about, what is Silver Dollar City? Well, Silver Dollar City is kind of Ozarkly if you think about it. And our water park is kind of a little bit Ozarkly if you think about it. And the showboat and the Silver Dollar City Resort, they're a little Ozarkly. And what is Ozarkly? Well, exactly. And the way we bring that to life is not just through like a Silver Dollar City blog, but it's this way that we can give people a Silver Dollar City podcast for people who want to go deeper. But we can also, if you go to Ozarkly or go to our YouTube page, you'll see we have this long running concert series of Ozarkly house concerts that we record right here behind us. That Silver Dollar City is the home for Americana music. We're the home for bluegrass and folk music. We're also the home for just this amazing food. So in 2025, we're going to be launching this new food series where we teach people how to just make these awesome family recipes at home. Ozarkly is going to be the place for all of those things. And it may not necessarily be as simple as, oh, buy a ticket to Silver Dollar City. It could just be, do you love bluegrass music, or do you love cooking with cast iron skillets, or do you love roller coasters? You can find all of those things at Ozarkly, and that's kind of the what it is now, and what it'll continue to grow into over the coming years.
And someone that's digesting the contents like, this is where? This is
Yeah.
at a theme park? What?
Oh, I know.
Kind of
Like,
reinventing the definition of like what that really is.
you think about all these stories. I mean, there's these awesome stories about like some of the women's suffrage movement was birthed right here in the Ozarks. And if anybody is like a foodie like me and you've ever used like Kewpie mayo, which originates from Japan, that actually came from right here in the Ozarks. And the story of who the bald knobbers were, and all these just crazy, quirky stories about this area where Silver Dollar City is. We're excited to really lean into telling those stories in the future. You also think about things like the stories behind Time Traveler. If you come and ride the ride, you'll know that there's something about going back in time. There's something about getting on a time machine, but you may not really get the full sense that you're walking into this clock factory that's on the outskirts of town, where there's this eccentric inventor who accidentally invented this time machine, and it's him and his daughter, and it's all about encouraging people to really dream big and go for their dreams, because nobody was able to achieve anything great unless they had dreams. Like, that's all the story behind this roller coaster, that most other parks would just say, oh yeah, we're going to build a roller coaster and slap a sign on it. We have these like this in-depth lore and stories that we're excited to really tell a lot more about in this year and in years going forward.
I love that. And if people are listening, how do they find this? Is it ozarkly.com, or how do they find this type of content?
Yeah, ozarkly.com. I mean, even if you go to silverdollarcity.com, you go to our social media at Silver Dollar City, you'll see it's all linked, and it's all there connected together. But yes, ozarkly.com is the hub for all of those.
Perfect. And where else? But again, we've got the website, we've got social media that we've talked on. Where else can everybody find you other than Branson, Missouri, which again, as we've established, I've yet to visit, but it's on my to-do list, I promise.
I think that's the majority of places that you're gonna find us, outside of the Super Bowl commercial that we did. Oh, just kidding. Maybe someday. But yeah, and I might add, just getting here, that's really I'm passionate about that. There's other ways to get here besides flying into Springfield, Missouri. We're within an 8-hour driving distance of a pretty large amount of the population, but also you can fly into Tulsa, Kansas City, St. Louis. These are all places that have Southwest flights, any of your legacy carriers. It's really not that difficult to get here. You just got to figure out when you can do it, and then obviously getting a car to get there. So once you clear those hurdles, I promise you, if you can make the trip, you're gonna love it. And I like to think that we're the whole destination itself, the Ozark Mountains. It's a very economical choice too.
Yeah, and I would also say for anybody who's kind of has a fear of sharks or marine
Mhm.
life or anything like that, there's a really good chance that you won't encounter one at Silver Dollar City. So I would really encourage people to come, um, just to to really kind of put their fears at rest that they won't encounter anything, like a shark
Right.
or something similar,
Right.
especially on our water rides.
So you said there's a good chance. You said there's a good chance. It's not like a
I'm
hundred
sorry.
percent chance.
What? Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, we do checks out there periodically throughout the year, and um, yeah.
0% chance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, I will say this: Silver Dollar City on January 5th. They said that I believe that was the day after you guys closed for the season. They're like, "What do we do until March when we reopen?" And I hopped in the comments and I said, "Hey, Coaster101.com has a podcast." So we've slid into the public comments, not even into the DMs. We've made this podcast happen, and I cannot wait to finally experience Silver Dollar City for the first time when I get there. But Joey, Dalton, thank you guys so much for your time today. I really, really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
happy to come on anytime.
yeah, likewise. This is fun. Maybe we could do like a recurring segment.
I would love that, to be honest with you. So it depends on how much time you guys have and how much time like real life is going to get in the way. I mean, I could do Dalton. I know that you like to answer questions like you're an 1880s prospector. Maybe we could do that as a segment.
Call me Peaches.
Ugh. Oh, peaches. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Coaster 101 podcast. Head to coaster101.com for the latest and greatest of theme park news, reviews, interviews, and other words that end in IEWS. We also are on all forms of social media, just like Silver Dollar City, which you can find at SDC Attractions pretty much anywhere. You can find us at Coaster 101, also anywhere. If you're listening, make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, because the more people who listen, the better chance I have at bringing on great guests like Dalton and Joey. And also, if you want some merch, c101.co/merch, or no, c101.co/tpublic. That's an old website that I just don't know the name of. But cool. Yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Coaster 101 podcast, and we will see you again soon. See ya.